Yeah. And I just want to share a brief statement about dana. In Buddhism, when practitioners share their understanding of the teachings and practice, it is offered freely as a practice of dana paramita. Dana is a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, and this practice is done without expectation of getting something in return. This is the spirit of speaking about the Dharma. Other ways to practice dana are to offer support to those who share the teachings, to support places of spiritual practice, and to give without judgment or expectation when opportunities arise. And those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a dana basis. So please support their practice by giving what you can. You can either do this directly or through Great Tree, and we will pass it on to them. And in the chat is the donation page for Great Tree, as well as the donation page for Dharma Field, I believe is the name, Reverend Tokan's temple. So thank you. And I'll pass it over to you, Anne.
Great. Well, we're very happy this morning to have Reverend Tokan Stephen Hagen here to give us a talk titled Awe and the Dharma. By way of a little introduction, Reverend Tokan is founder and head of Dharma Field Zen Center in Minneapolis. And he's been a student of Buddhist thought and practice since 1967. In 1975, he began practicing with Dainan Katagiri Roshi in Minneapolis, and he was ordained by him in 1979. He studied with teachers in the US, Asia, and Europe, and received Dharma transmission, which is the endorsement to teach, from Katagiri in 1989. Steve Hagen is the author of a number of books, the most recent being Why the World Doesn't Seem to Make Sense. Perhaps his most well-known is Buddhism, Plain and Simple, and one of special resonance with folks at Great Tree is the collection of Dharma talks by Dainan Katagiri Roshi, which he edited, titled You Have to Say Something. And we're very glad to have him with us this morning. And now Tasia would like to say a few words about her Dharma brother.
Well, first of all, I'd like to explain something that in January, I invited Steve to talk for June. And even though we've sent out several emails about this and put it up on Facebook and Instagram, I forgot to get in touch with him. So I called him about an hour ago and he thought he was off the, so this talk will not be exactly according to the title. But I said, well, Steve, you've written several books. You must have something to say. But I want to say a couple other things. One of the things is that I think the background behind Steve is Duluth. Is that correct? That's where Steve is from, Duluth, Minnesota. So you can see the beauty of Minnesota behind him. Although he's not in Duluth, I don't think. That's just a screen thing. And the other thing I want to say is if you're not from Minneapolis, some of you I don't recognize, so you must be from his Sangha. Or if you've never been to Minneapolis, if you get there, you should definitely go over and see Dharma Field. It's quite a beautiful meditation space. It's a former Christian church, which he gutted the sanctuary, and it's a huge meditation space. And they don't have a typical altar. Their altar is a huge rock that looks like a sitting Buddha to me. And I think it's from someplace in northern Minnesota. Is that correct, Steve?
Oh. Yeah, it's just from west of the city. It's about 50 miles west of Minneapolis.
But
yeah,
I have a question.
It's the glacial. It came from northern Minnesota originally, or probably even Canada. The glaciers brought it down and left it sitting west of town here. So that's where we found it.
Oh, wow. So how did you get it there?
Well, how do we get it from there to the Zendo, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, somebody had a large pickup truck, and we were able to put it in that. So, but the fellow who just the place where we got it, it had a lot of stones, huge stones that builders would use, and so he was used to selling these big stones that he has out there. And but when we picked the particular one that we did, he complained. He said, "Well, that's just a potato rock." He said, "You know," and he said, "I got much prettier ones around."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but because he didn't think it was worth anything, he didn't charge us anything for it. So,
Wow.
donated it, you might say. But it was the one we wanted. As you said, it has kind of a sense of a human form there. It's sitting, you know, and facing the way we have it turned. It's like facing the wall, like Bodhidharma or something.
I was looking for a picture of it on your website, but I didn't see one.
Oh, it should be on the front page, I think. Oh, well, actually, I really don't know. It does show up there once in a while anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, it's quite beautiful. And thank you so much for coming.
And that is Lake Superior behind me there.
Lake
So
Superior.
that's the North Shore of in Minnesota there. And then that's where I'm from, that country. Looks like that. I was born just a couple blocks off the lake.
Oh, really?
About 150 miles down from where this picture was taken. So it's a long lake. It's 450 miles.
Really?
Yeah, it's big. Sometimes people are surprised that you can't see across Lake Superior. We can't see across any of the Great Lakes, really. So,
no,
but Lake Superior is the biggest.
But it's cold.
It's cold, but if you know where to dive in, you can find swimmable spots.
Anyway, thank you for coming.
I didn't mean to go on about all this. Sorry.
No, that's great. I think there are a lot of people who are in the South out here don't really know much about Lake Superior in northern Minnesota. So I'm happy you shared it.
Yeah, well, that's the largest surface of fresh water in the world.
Really?
And it's very clean.
Yes.
Very clean. When I was a boy growing up, people would just drink out of the lake, but they don't do that now. There's too much development along some of the shores. So. Anyway, that's
part of the St. Lawrence Seaway too.
Yes, yeah, I remember as a boy when that came in, the first salty, as we called them, came in from the Atlantic, came into Duluth, in the center of North America. It was kind of amazing, really.
Yeah.
Though in some ways it ruined the lake.
Oh, right.
Killed the trout that's in the lake. Or it didn't quite kill them off, but it kind of reduced it a bit. I wanted to say one thing about the introduction there, and thank you very much, Anne, for the introduction. Though Why the World Doesn't Seem to Make Sense is not my most recent book. Last October, my most recent book, The Grand Delusion, came out. So if you're acquainted with any of my writings or whatever, if you want to check that out. And at Dharma Field on our website, every Wednesday night since January, we've been having discussions on the book. We're not having one this Wednesday, but all of the previous ones that we've done are all recorded there, and there's no charge. You can just go in and listen to it. If that interests you, if you find the book and you find it worth getting into more deeply.
Can we come on a Wednesday? Can we come via Zoom on a Wednesday? Or
yes, yeah, you can Zoom them live, right? Except this Wednesday, for the first time since we started in January, we won't be holding it this Wednesday, but we'll be picking it up again in 2 weeks, or the week after.
Good, thank you.
Was there anything more, Taylor? What are you going?
Oh, I'm done.
Is that it for an intro? Okay. All right. Well, yeah, as Tejo mentioned, I thought that perhaps this had been canceled, so I didn't really prepare the original idea that I was going to talk on, but just now I quickly looked at a piece here that from Master Foyan. This is from Zen Master Foyan. This is from Thomas Cleary's The Essence of Zen. I think is that Zen Essence, and Foyan, and a number of it's just different expressions and sayings and teachings, little cryptic little things from various Zen masters, and some of them are quite interesting. And I just kind of thumbed through a bit and saw this one. I don't know if it'll be so appropriate for today or not, but maybe. Actually, I think it's kind of a universal consideration here, something that be appropriate almost any time if we're interested in Zen. So let me just read this and comment and a little bit, and then if you have some questions, anything you'd like to discuss, we can certainly do that. So here, it's Foyan. He says, the minute you fixate on the recognition that this is it, you are immediately bound hand and foot and cannot move around anymore. So as soon as it is given this recognition, nothing is right, whatever it might be. If you don't fixate on recognition, you can still be, if you don't fix on recognition, you can still be saved. It is like making a boat and outfitting it for a 1,000-mile journey to a treasure trove. If you drive a stake and tie the boat to it before you jump in and start rowing, you can row till kingdom come and still be on the beach. You see the boat waving this way and that, and you think you are on the move, but you've never gone a single step, it says. A single step if you're in a boat, well, but that's kind of an interesting observation he's making there, I think. So if I get my book back in place here. My eyes are going on me now, so it's getting harder and harder for me to see print. I'm getting old. I'm much older than I look. People take me to be maybe, in my 50s or something, and I'm 75 anyway. And my eyes are going. It's kind of a problem in my family. My aunts and uncles all started becoming blind, so I think that's beginning to affect me now. Anyway, but here Foyan, so he says, the minute you fixate on the recognition, this is it, and it's in quotes. And he says that you are immediately bound hand and foot and cannot move around anymore. So as soon as we fixate on a thought, an idea, an emotion, an impression that we have, or even an object of some kind, whether it's a physical object out there that we see, or something that we hear, or a piece of music, or whatever it might be, as soon as we fixate on it, then we can't move around anymore. He says we're kind of locked in, pinned down. Life itself is flowing by, we could say. It's like a stream. The Buddha described us as stream ourselves. He referred to us as Santana was the term that he used, which literally means stream in Sanskrit. And but we are stream. This is what life is. It is something flowing, ever changing. And but the moment we fixate on something, this is what our minds will tend to do. We conceptualize the experience that is being had, and we'll pin it down in various ways, in various forms and ideas. And it's like we're freezing it up. And the Buddha referred to this as when we take hold of a view, he said, this is a frozen view. It becomes frozen. And the liveliness of the motion and change and flux that is ever present with the direct experience is kind of lost to us. And but this is where the life is taking place. This is where awakening is. This is also where delusion is. It is all right here in this ever-changing space. But so as soon as we give some recognition, particularly if we feel like we have some insight or some idea about just what Buddha's enlightenment is, say, or something of that sort. And we fixate on that, and as soon as we give it this recognition, he says, this is it. As soon as we do this, he says, then nothing is right. And whatever it might be, whatever it is that we might fixate on, we can think a good thought or a bad thought or a good feeling, a bad feeling, but nothing is right. Nothing is right because nothing is still. Nothing endures, including ourselves, even our own minds and thoughts and feelings. You are not the people that tuned into this, nor am I. Already so much has changed. And of course, this moment looks very much like the last streaming moments we've been having for some time now, particularly if we're in a room somewhere. But it is still, even so, it's constantly changing. Where I'm sitting here, I can hear in the distance a lawnmower just started up a few minutes or a moment ago. And so the sound background has shifted a bit. And but if we get hold of something that strikes us, oh, this is it. This is how it is. We should recognize this as delusion. The delusion is in grasping it and in believing and thinking that it is some particular thing. And it doesn't have to be an it. It could be a him or a her. It could be me. When we think of ourselves and we think that we're some particular thing that's persisting from moment to moment, when in fact everything within the experience is nothing but this continuous change and flow, and it's ever a novel, different. It doesn't repeat itself. But the moment we latch on to things, we take hold of something, an idea, a thought, a feeling. This is how it is. Oh, it'll never be otherwise. It'll never, whatever. Then Fo Yan says, no, nothing is right. He says, if you don't fixate on recognition, he said, you can still be saved. So if you don't fixate on the idea, the thought, the feeling, whatever it might be, and of course we'll fixate on it, particularly something that we like, we want to hang on to it, but we don't realize we're shutting out the full experience of reality, which is available in awakening. This is what we can awaken to and to realize. It is just all this. But we kill that by pinning down one thing or another. And the moment you pin that thing down, or that person, or whatever it is, this is, of course, only going on in your mind, then you also are something formed and pinned down as well. And this is generally how we see our experience. That I am something particular here, persisting through time, and I want to keep myself protected, and I want to be pleased and happy. Yeah, but as long as we continue to see things in this way, it's very difficult to maintain anything like that, because it just isn't the case. As the Buddha said, we're all stream. But then Fo Yan, he makes this analogy here. He says it's like making it's like making a boat and outfitting it for a 1,000-mile journey to a treasure trove. If you drive a stake and tie the boat to it before you jump in and start moving, you can roll till kingdom come and still be on the beach. You see the boat waving this way and that, because everything is in motion and moving. The boat's moving back and forth. And you think you're on the move, but you've never gone a single step, he says. And well, this is kind of how it is. The thing too about that journey that he's speaking of, it's like we're always on this journey. It's a journey right into now. It's this continuous journey of right here, right now. But he likens it to a 1,000-mile journey that we might be wanting to take. And it can be like a 1,000-mile journey. But it's not like the goal is at the end of the 1,000-mile trek. So we finally get there, and then we find that treasure trove waiting for us at the end of the journey. It's like waiting for trying to get to the end of the rainbow or something like this, because that's where the treasure will be, something way off there. No, we can begin to see that right here, where we are, where we're taking one step and then another and another. And whether we take that step or not, everything is still flowing past us here, moving by. We can begin to realize that the treasure is right here in this moment. It's not way out there at the end. What, do we think we're going to find something there? That's another fixation. And it will be, that we have to get to that point, and then we'll have what? I can guarantee you it will be just another ordinary thing. And you'll feel like you still need to go searching, go looking further. We have this teaching, it's not used a lot, I don't think, in the Zen school, but this teaching that Buddhas do not seek, enlightened people do not seek, because they realize it is right here. It is just right here. It's always now, it's always here. And so it's a matter of just waking to that. As for the things changing and happening and flowing past all of this, this occurs in spite of anything that we might do, even in spite of the fact that we might drive that stake into the ground and tie our boat to it. It is still continuously changing, even as the boat is tossing this way and that, as it's still tied to the shore. Still, everything is changing. So we don't need to worry about that. We don't need to do anything in particular about that. What we need to do really is to wake up to the actual circumstance that we are living out of. And in seeing this, here's the freedom. And also the goal as such has already been achieved, but it's been achieved right from the very start. You do have the awareness of a Buddha, of an awakened one. The perceptual experience of one who is awake is no different than your own. The only difference really is in the conceptual experience, that we will conceptualize our experience. We make use of, this is why we have, I'm sure with Tejo, you're familiar with Dogen Zenji and his teachings. And there in this Fukan Zengi, he says, cease from practice based on intellectual understanding. And the grasping of views and this sort of thing. That's creating the frozen view. We can cease from that, because the actual direct experience, the perception, that's the conceptual experience. When we conceptualize the experience, which is very functional and useful, it isn't that conceptualizing is bad, or using the intellect is bad or something like that, but it doesn't connect us with reality. It doesn't show us that. That is in the perceptual experience, which is in the full dynamic experience of the unfolding of this very moment. And it is always this way. And you have access to this. You have this perception. You have, I call that perception as opposed to conception. You have a direct experience of reality all the while, just as one who's awake. The only difference between the Buddhas, the awakened ones, and those who are more confused by this is that they recognize the grasped view, the frozen view, for what it is. We don't necessarily have to destroy it or get rid of it, but we don't need to be deceived by it and mistake that for reality. The reality is in the dynamic unfolding of this moment, which is always here and now. You see that as well as a Buddha. A Buddha just recognizes that and for what it is, and does not mistake the grasp view, the fixated idea or thought or action or whatever for the dynamic reality that is our life. And it is our life, which happens also to be the life of the whole, the life of totality, the life of the world. Your life is not really just your little life here. You'll have a difficult time trying to find a boundary between yourself and everything else. But those things do appear, of course, in the mind, into the intellect, to our conceptual mind. And in some ways they have their uses, so I can find this cup and pick it up and wet my whistle here. But ultimately, that isn't the reality. Okay, well, maybe I've said enough here to, if you have any questions or reactions, anything I might have said here, or what Foyans had to say, or anything else for that matter. Or if you are familiar with anything that I've written in my books or something, if you have a question there, I'd be happy to take that as well. So.